First, retail, we've spoken enough about the macros, but on a very retail level, over the last 2 days, two big banks have announced that there shall be no penalty if you prepay a loan. Something which has come from the Reserve Bank first as an advisory, then as a directive, and then as a threatened order. So the banks have one by one anyway announced that to check the impact on the system, Krishna Kumar, Managing Director of State Bank of India, joins us on the phone line. Mr. Krishna Kumar, thank you very much for joining us today, sir. What do you expect is going to be the upshot? I'm sure the amount of money you get as prepayment is a very, very minuscule percentage. But the bigger problem could be that people will leg it out if someone else offers a smaller, a lower interest rate?
No, that is true, Lata, and good morning to you as well. That's true. People could move out of the system, but our experience in the last few months, since let's say April this year, has been that, as you rightly said, there has been hardly any number of people going out of the bank just because somebody else is offering a better rate, better deal. So I think we have taken this. We already did this in April when we said there is no prepayment penalty for the new loans being sanctioned, and now we've extended this to all existing loans as well.
Okay, but would you say that this will smoothen out too much of variation of interest rates between banks and housing finance companies? If the difference became perceivably large, you would find this as an instrument that smoothens it out?
Yes, probably that would be true. But even today, as far as the banks go, I think the differential in the rates of interest on home loans is maybe around in the region of 100 basis points, around 1% this way or that way at max. Okay. So I think already there is some amount of smoothening out, and probably what you say is right. The differential between the banks and the HFCs also would be more in a narrow band in future.
Mr. Krishna Kumar, hi, morning. Now that this will go ahead and perhaps encourage prepayment, do you see any kind of major asset liability mismatch for banks?
It will encourage prepayment only if somebody else is offering a better deal, and in today's scenario I doubt very much whether there is going to be a huge let's say fall in the rates of interest in the near term in any case. So I don't think that will be a problem in that sense. But yes, if there is some person or some institution offering a highly different rate of interest, there will definitely be an outflow. So that could lead to some asset liability issues. But as of now, as I said, in the last 6 months we have had no major problems on this. In fact, I think in our case, on our portfolio of around 90,000 crores of home loans, probably in the last 6 months, I think only about 300 or 400 crores of loans have gone out on prepayment issues.
Okay, so the Reserve Bank's goading of banks to remove prepayment is now coming to a head with all the big banks announcing the removal of prepayment. The other important announcement that the Reserve Bank made was deregulating savings bank. The cue has been taken at the moment only by a couple of private sector, very small private sector banks. You think that's next in line, that very soon we are going to see big guys like you all also get into some kind of a change in the savings rate?
Well, I think we have been fairly consistent in our stand here that we will not be the first movers as far as the savings bank rate goes. So we are just waiting and seeing what's happening. But in fact, even despite the savings bank deregulation, we still have a sizable growth in our savings bank portfolio in the last couple of months. So I think we'll just look and see what happens. I don't want to say anything more than that.
But you sense that the competition will catch up, and you will have to perhaps inch it up a bit, maybe to 4%, 4.5%?
I don't know. I don't know whether we inched up to 4.5% or whether we have a different proposition for the balances, for the savings bank balances, which are higher than the average. Okay. But as I said, it's not very. It's still in the state of flux right now, and nothing much is happening on that.
So you may announce something innovative, like you are hinting at that balance.
No, I'm not hinting at anything. All I'm saying is that as of now, we are not doing anything about it. We're just waiting to see what happens.
The other evolving story, Mr. Kumar, is what's happening with aviation. You guys have an exposure to Kingfisher Airlines, and you have spoken to us earlier as well. What's the latest on that front? What discussions are being held at this point?
Actually, I cannot talk about specifics. In any case, I would not know much about the specifics, but in broad detail, we are talking to the parties concerned, and I think the consortium of banks will take a final view on individual accounts.
When would this be done?
There was a meeting, I think, sometime last week, and I believe there was a time given about 15 days for people to come back and discuss further.
Okay.
I think maybe sometime next week there could be another meeting.
And it's quite clearly you'll have asked the company also to bring in some equity if you'll have to give in more working capital.
Well, that's been what we've been saying, and that's what we have been saying right from the beginning. I don't think there's anything new in that.
Okay. So what about the Air India loan recast? We understand the Reserve Bank has approved the extension of the tenure of loans, and now they will be due for repayment in 15 years. What is the next step on that? The banks are meeting today or on Monday. When will the final approval come from the banks?
Yeah, frankly, I'm not able to talk about that particular account right now because I don't have the details with me.
Okay, well, there's just a small point on that. We've got exclusive information from the Reserve Bank that when these are restructured or whatever you want to call them and rescheduled into 15-year loans, the Reserve Bank will still insist that they should be treated as an NPL because it is a restructured loan.
Okay. No, if that is the standard, I think all the banks will have a problem about non-performing assets during the rest of this year. I think if that happens that way.
Okay. Well, then that brings me to the issue of NPLs itself. What is your sense now that there is a slightly clearer idea of the way in which the economy is moving, the problems in the global economy as well? Do you think a state bank would have one more quarter, or how many more quarters of probably problems with NPLs?
My current sense, as far as I'll talk a little more about the retail part of the portfolio. My current sense is that in the retail part of the portfolio, probably we have seen now we are at the top of the plateau, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be flat in the sense of there may not be any significant major rises in NPAs in the retail segment. They could, in fact, in some cases, there has been a marginal fall over the September levels also, but then it's too early to say in this quarter what happens ultimately on December 31st. As far as the corporate segment goes, yes, it will depend a lot on what happens in the global economy and what happens in the Indian economy. But once again, I think in the middle of, towards the end of November where we are now, we will not really be able to get a sense on what will happen towards the end of December, because as you know, in these cases things change, because when people repay some amount within 90 days, then it becomes a performing asset all over again. So we have to look at that also. Okay,
just one more question. There seems to be a trend of foreign banks, especially European banks, selling off their investments in corporate bonds, and we understand a lot of Indian banks are buying up those bonds. Is that something that SBI is also interested in?
Really, frankly, I don't have a detail on this, so I can't comment offhand on this.
How much do you think loan growth will end up in the current year?
We are looking at around a growth of 16 to 18% at the end of March 12, if not slightly higher than 18%, because I think there are signs of a pickup in advances and pickup in loans in the last couple of weeks also.
Okay. All right, Mr. Krishna Kumar, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us today.